Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I'm excited to share with you a first look at the 4th Armoured Division, a new British division available in the NORTHAG expansion. Let's jump on in. Just to note, what you see today is a work in progress and therefore subject to change. We're going to go through all of the units and we'll put together a quick deck. So starting here in the logistics tab, we have the FV432 command, which is an armoured command vehicle. Really cheap, 40 points. You only get 2 on a card though, which is a little bit of a letdown. Then we have the FV105 Sultan, which is a much better card to take because you get 3 on the card. You're paying for extra speed and extra armour, which is really good. So yeah, decent card for sure. Then we have the FV432 Cargo, which is a solid supply vehicle. 1000 supply, 10 health, you get armor. For 40 points, you get 6 of them on a card. It's pretty decent. Then there's the Stolly, which is your amphibious supply vehicle. 1500 supply, 10 health, decent on-road speed. Another great option. Then we have the AAC Militant Mark III, which allows you to set up nice amount of supply on the front line as well, with 2000 supply, 10 health, 90 km/h on-road speed. All of the supply options in this division, absolutely fantastic. Then we have the Chinook, which is also a solid supply vehicle, although in this case it's probably going to be replaced by the AAC Militant, because having supply helicopters is a little bit risky sometimes because they can be spotted where they land and then they get artied, which is a bit rough. Whereas if you have them on the ground, then it's a lot harder for the enemy to spot them. Then we have the Saxon CP, which is the most expensive command vehicle in the logistics tab at 85 points, but it is due to the fact that it is armoured and it has a really fast speed. So 100 km/h on-road speed means that you can use this to capture sectors very quickly at the start of the game, which makes a big difference in like 1v1, for example. And then we have the field supply point, which is an option if you bring a lot of artillery, which in this division, it has a reasonable amount. Nothing too crazy though. Let's jump into the infantry tab next. So starting off with the machine gun squad. They're not very good. Then we have the military police, which again is not really a standout unit in the British divisions because you don't get given a military police vehicle with them. Like if you get a military police vehicle with them, it's really nice because you can spread them out a lot better and use that military police trait to grant suppression regeneration bonus to all of the units that are under it. So that's really nice. But we have here gun group. Now gun group, 30 points, you get 2 L85s, you get the 2 machine guns, you also get an M72 Law now because they didn't used to get this, but they now get the Law as well. For 30 points, it's not a bad squad because it can be brought in with some okay transports like the Rover and the Saxon. The Saxon's always a nice transport because it's super fast and armoured. The FV432 is probably the worst option here, but the FV432 Milan for 30 points. It's a Milan vehicle for 30 points and you get 9 on a card. So if you brought 2 cards of gun group with FV432 Milans, you're going to have 18 Milans. That's a lot of ATGMs, and I feel like this division really kind of leans on those Milans and Milan 2s quite a lot. Moving on to the Assault Pioneers, we have the Assault Pioneer Leader, which is a 6-man squad. It would be nice if they had smoke. I think that would make this leader much better, because just the 6 L2A3s on their own is a pretty rough squad for sure. But they can be brought in with the FV432 Scat, which does get a sort of twin L37A2 machine gun mounted on it. Moving on, the Assault Pioneers. So your standard loadout with the 6 L85s, 2 L86s with satchel charge. You do of course get shock trait because they're Assault Pioneers. And then we have the Assault Pioneers, which have the same gun loadout with the Carl Gustav M2. Again, still maintaining the shock there and can be brought in with the FV432 Scat. So this dual machine gun, I'm not sure how effective it's really going to be compared to like a standard FV432, which only has a single machine gun. But I guess we'll find out. Then we have the Terriers Leader, which is a 6-man squad. Territorial Leader with the L2A3, 2 of those, 4 FML1A1s, and the M72 Law. So probably a better leader because it can defend itself against enemy armor. And then we have the Terriers, which are okay. Their weapons are a little lackluster with the 1 L2A3, the L1A1s, and the L4A4s. Yeah, it's a pretty rough loadout compared to using the L85s and such. But they do get the M72, and they are very cheap. But you might notice that they do come in as green, so they don't have any like initial vet, and you can't outvet them in the deck at all. Then we have the Rifle Leader. So Rifle Leader here, probably the best option just due to the fact that they do get smoke, so they can kind of smoke themselves off if they get found. They do have 5 L85s and the L7A2, but also an M72, so they can engage enemy armor, and yeah, they can smoke themselves off if they need to. In terms of transports, Bedford, Saxon, FV432. Saxon's generally going to be your best option because of how fast it is, and it is armored. Then we have the standard rifle squads. Standard rifle squads are actually pretty good because they have 6 L85s, the 2 L86 loadout, but plus the Lore 80. And the Lore 80 is a pretty nasty launcher with a 20 penetration with 55% accuracy. And then we have the motorized rifles, which are a 9-man squad. So they get an extra L85, and then they get the Carl Gustav M2 for the same price. So you just get extra men, but a worse launcher. Bear in mind the Carl Gustav 10 rate of fire, the Lore 80 is a 20 round per minute rate of fire, which is a pretty huge difference. So yeah, you probably want to bring these in positions where you're going to be engaging enemy infantry more, and then of course the rifles will be there to deal with enemy armor that comes in close. So maybe worth to kind of mix them together so you can get more men on the field. Right, moving on, we have the L6 Wombat. Now, this is an interesting unit because it can be brought in with the FV432 Wombat, which means you can double up on the Wombats, which is cool. Mounted Wombat in the FV432, which has the same stats. And the Wombat, I mean, it's got 15 pen, 1,400 meter range. That's okay. Doubling up on it might be quite interesting. Then we got the Milan 1, which can be brought in with the Milan on the FV432. But better than that, we have the Milan 2, which has that 24 penetration, 2,450 meter range, which is actually pretty nasty. But you can bring it in with the Spartan MCT, and the Spartan MCT also gets Milan 2s. So that's a pretty interesting choice there. You can, of course, bring it in those other transports if you want, but the Spartan MCT plus the Milan 2 here, I think is an okay choice. The big problem we're going to have with all of these vehicles is that the stealth is bad. So you're going to have to make good use of that range, because if you're in range of an enemy gun, it's going to get killed very quickly. All right, moving on to the artillery tab, we have the 81mm mortars available. We've got the 81mm mortars available in the FV432. Then there's the FV433 Abbott, which is a 105mm gun. Like, en masse, these can be okay, and you can technically get, what, 6 of them? That's actually not that many. You'd probably want like 9 of them in order to make them effective at saturating a target enough. You can bring in the M107A2s, which are 175mm guns with 35 kilometer range with 3.81 damage. Get a couple of these to fire at the same target at the same time, and you're going to be hitting very hard. And then there's the 155mm, which you can also bring in, except these are going to be quite micro-intensive because you're going to want to move them after they fire, and then you have to like load them back up into the transport, move them, unload them again, in order to avoid them being hit by counter battery. So yeah, it's a rough arty tab, to be honest. You can, of course, go quite deep into like the double M 175mm plus double Abbott or something like that, then bring like a field supply point, but honestly, you might not need to. Then we move on to the tank tab. So the tank tab, we start off with the Centurion Mark 12 AVRE 105, which is a 105mm gun equipped with, of course, it's got the plow on it there. It's got a couple of machine guns. Honestly, it's pretty naff. You're probably never going to really use this. Yeah. All right, moving on. We got the Centurion Mark 5 with the 165mm gun. Now, this is actually useful It also comes with explosive reactive armor, which pushes up to 11 health. So this can be a really, really strong vehicle for engaging enemy infantry in cover, and might also be useful for engaging infantry in forests as well, if you have it like behind your infantry line. Then we have the swing fire. So the swing fire is a 23 pen 80 gem that can fire at 2,625 meter range, but has a accuracy of 45%, which is not very good, unfortunately. And then there's the striker, which gets the swing fire as well. And the nice thing about the striker is it has a much better rate of fire. So if you're going to use either of these, generally make it the striker. Then we got the Centurion, or sorry, Chieftain line. The Chieftain line starts with the Mark 11 command. Now the Mark 11 has a pretty decent gun. So 2,275 meter range with the 65% accuracy thanks to the one vet. It's okay. 8 round per minute rate of fire as well there, thanks to vet. It's okay. Like it's not going to be great because its front armor is lacking, but in terms of like picking off enemy units at a distance, it's pretty good for that. Then we have the Chieftain Mark 6. So this comes with a 120mm gun, which has 16 penetration, 1,925 meter range with 60% accuracy. Now, to be honest, for the price, 100 points, this is actually a relatively good unit to be using at close range. Like at close quarters, this gun is going to do okay. So yeah, for 100 points, it's absolutely fine. Then we have the Chieftain Mark 9, which gets the 2,100 meter range with 19 penetration gun. So an extra 3 pen, extra bit of range for an extra 40 points. Another solid choice. Like the Chieftains have always been relatively good value for money in the British divisions. And then we have the Chieftain Mark 11, the standard variant, which is 180 points with that 2,275 meter range. So yeah, these you're going to want to use at range, like maximum range. Look for side shots, look for like just chipping away enemy health. And then the Chieftain Mark 9s and Chieftain Mark 6s are the much closer range units that you can use to really trade up against heavier tanks. Then in the Recon tab, we have the Ferret Mark 2. It is a very good optics vehicle, and it does have good stealth, so it will be able to hide and provide you with some decent information. Then we have the Fox, which only has mediocre stealth, but has that 30mm. And these are very well known for running around the edge of the map and destroying things in the back line. Then we have the FV-103 Spartan, which is a exceptional optics vehicle on the ground for only 25 points. It'd be pretty good for accompanying your long-range Chieftain Mark 11s, but in terms of like just generic recon, it's not going to do too great because it only has mediocre stealth. Then we have the Scouts. So your infantry scouts, they can be brought in with a Spartan, which also has good optics, or in the Gazelle. We have motorized scouts, which is actually a pretty chunky squad for recon. So it's an 8 strength squad. They get 2 L2A3s, 4 L85s, 2 L86s, and the Carl Gustav M2. They have exceptional stealth and very good optics. As an 8-man squad, that's really nice. Then there's the snipers, which have the L96A1 sniper rifle. Again, exceptional stealth, very good optics, and because they're a sniper, they get the sniper trait, which gives damage boost when not, or damage boost and accuracy boost when not moving. So that's pretty nice, and they also get an extra level of stealth, which pushes the stealth beyond exceptional, which is really, really good. Then we have the Scorpion, which is the L23A1 with the 10 penetration, 1,925 meter range. The Scorpion's never been particularly great, only mediocre stealth as well. Scimitar, bit of a better option due to the 30mm autocannon. And then we have the Gazelle AH1 with the Sneb rockets. You're not buying this for the rockets, to be honest, but for 50 points, a very good optics helicopter is nice. The only issue I have with it is it's only got 4 health. And then we have, finally, a new unit, the Lynx AH7 Chancellor, which comes with the radar on it. So exceptional optics, 6 health, 45 points, really, really solid recon helicopter. Right, moving on to the AA tab, we start with the javelins. So the javelin is 2,475 meter range with 55% accuracy. It's never been a fantastic manpad unit, but in this case can be brought in with the FE432 scat. If this turns out to be like pretty good at demolishing infantry, then it might be worth like investing in some of those. But otherwise, the Javelin LML, which has the increased rate of fire but can't go in buildings. Then we have the Rapier FSA, which has a 3,525 meter range, 55% accuracy against aircraft. The Rapier's always been a bit of a bad anti-aircraft system just because it's guided, and as soon as the enemy aircraft gets out of range, you are basically guaranteed to miss. So yeah, it's pretty rough in that regards, but we do have the Rapier FSB2 Darkfire at our disposal now, which is a 3,875 meter range versus aircraft with a 70% accuracy. So that's really, really nice. And you're also getting increased range against helicopters with 3,175 meter range. That's a long range against a helicopter. And then we got the track Rapier, which comes on the armored hull there. So yeah, probably going to be taking like the FSB2 Darkfires and track Rapier, and then you can probably maybe take some manpads. But when you upvet these, they're going to be like crazy accurate. All right, moving on to the helicopter tab, two options, the Helarm, which is the normal tow, and then the ITO variant. So nothing too crazy here. We've seen that before. Then moving into the air tab, we have our Jaguars. So Jaguars rockets, which come with the two Hydra 70 rocket pods, plus some AIM-9s if you want to use them to shoot down enemy helicopters, which honestly is not necessarily a bad idea because they do come with twin 30 mils. Then there's the cluster variant, which comes with the 4 cluster bombs. The HE variant, which comes with 6 513 kilogram bombs, which is actually a really nasty payload. And those AIM-9s mounted on the top of the wings. Really, really cool. Then we have the Phantom F3, which is kind of like a standard loadout for the Phantom. Doesn't have the gun in it, though, so I'm not a huge fan of these. They are cheap, and you can kind of overwhelm the enemy with missiles if you bring like a couple of them at the same time. But otherwise, I think they're just kind of not really necessary. Then we have the Phantom with the bombs. So this is a nicer loadout. It comes with the Vulcan underneath it as well. So that's cool. But yeah, 6 513 kilogram bombs. This payload is so good. It really is. And then the 2 Skyflash as well. So it gives you a little bit of air-to-air. Finally, there's the Phantom with the cluster bombs and HE bombs. So we've got 4 cluster bombs and 4 of the big 513 kilogram bombs. So yeah, another really nice payload, but quite expensive. Like both of these are very expensive, but both of them probably capable of taking out, you know, like a standard T-80 or something in one run. Maybe not quite a UD, but most tanks will be one-shot bombed by these aircraft. So pretty potent. Let's go ahead and build a deck quick. So starting in the logistics tab, we have ourselves the FV105 Sultan. I'm going to throw that in. We're going to go and put in the cargoes. I'm probably just going to do something like this. I'm not going to bring in the field supply point. I don't think it's necessary in this division. Then I'm thinking what might be fun is if we do double gun group with FV432 Milans. Maybe I could upvet them to increase the power of the Milan slightly. Although the idea would be to spam them for 60 points, so maybe not. We're definitely bringing the Milan 2 in the Spartan MCT. I'm definitely bringing the Wombat in the Wombat. So we'll bring up that combination. Then it's just a matter of like choosing your infantry. We'll do rifle leaders coming in Saxons. I might want to do 2 of those, but I'm probably going to bring in some chieftain leaders as well, so it's not completely necessary. We'll do motorized rifles in Saxons, because the Saxon's really fast, whilst the FB432 is the transport for these guys. I guess we bring these in Bedfords. And then we'll want some assault pioneers, probably. I'll bring them in with the FB432 scat. Okay. I think that's fine. I'm kind of tempted to just make that a 9-man squad, like a 9 availability, and then swap these out for more assault pioneers, just so we have a bit more close range capability. But I think what we're going to do in the artillery tab is we're going to have a little group of abbots just to help with those infantry engagements, and then I'm going to double up on the M107A2s. Alright, moving on to the tank tab. We'll take the AVREs. We'll take the Chieftain Mark 11 and then Mark 11 tanks as well. Probably going to upvet the Mark 11s. And then I'm thinking at close range, probably just want Chieftain Mark 9s. Maybe one card of Chieftain Mark 6. We'll see. We'll come back to it. Definitely want the Chancellor. Definitely want some Foxes. Motorized Scouts are really good. And then maybe Snipers. Just to give us some extra recon. Looks like I'm already well over on activation points, but I have to come back to this. Because I do want to do something like this. And then have those in there. Then we'd have like maybe one helicopter unit. So we'd do the hell arm. And then obviously aircraft. But where am I going overboard? Maybe in the tank tab. Do something like that. Bring in the Chieftain Mark 6s. So in the air tab, we have that cluster plane for sure. For 265 points, that's such a nice loadout. And then the Jaguars probably as well. Maybe we don't need as much recon. This is always the interesting part of making a division. If we drop that, that gives us 2 points per. So we can do maybe like two, like I will bring these in just because like that's your only air-to-air option. And in some cases it's going to be pretty important to have them. But otherwise, I think we just go with the Jaguars. The Jaguars have 30% ECM, they're fast, they're accurate. I think that's the way to do it. And we just put some man pads in here. We'll do them with rovers because we're probably going to need them early on, and I am going to upvet them. I think we're about there. The only thing that I would be worried about is like the relative power of the gun group in this unit, in this division. Alright, well, that'll do. That's the 4th Armoured. Have a look at what that looks like overall. So, my opinion on this division, I reckon it can be relatively decent. You know, you got the Chieftain Mark 11s to hold that range engagement. You will struggle against the heaviest of Soviet tanks though, of course. You've got really good AA. You've got decent artillery, fantastic supply vehicles, so you're not going to be running out of supply anytime soon. Yeah, I think overall, pretty solid. And if things get a bit overwhelming, those bombers are going to really just nuke things completely. So this could be sleeper division. It doesn't look too exciting, but there are some really, really good tools in this division. But that's all from me. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this first look at the 4th Armoured. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.